The rule was clear. There was no wiggle room. Albuquerque Public Schools administrators, who are also state legislators, are not paid their APS salaries while they're at the legislature. But one APS official who's a lawmaker has been breaking that rule for years. Tonight, News 13 investigative reporter Larry Barker exposes how she got away with that and got away with tens of thousands of dollars.
Ask this politician a question and you'll likely get an answer. But there's one thing she won't talk about.
With all due respect, I do not wish to speak to you.
State Representative Sheryl Williams Stapleton, the House Majority Whip, is a veteran legislator with a big secret. Our investigation finds Stapleton one of only a handful of state lawmakers who collect salaries while performing elected duties. This despite the fact the Constitution prohibits legislators from pocketing salaries.
New Mexico is the only state in the country that does not pay legislators a salary. Instead of having professional career politicians run the government, New Mexico has what's called a citizens legislature. Its members are unpaid, and their only compensation is per diem to reimburse for food, lodging, and mileage.
Professor Tim Krebs teaches political science at UNM.
In a citizens legislature, what you're going to get is a cross-section of the community serving in the legislature.
For example, Tim Jennings' unpaid job is president pro tem of the state senate. But Jennings makes his living as a Roswell rancher.
Because we come up here, we don't come up here to stay. We're not looking for a livelihood. We're just looking to come up and do the people's work and go home.
In private life, State Rep Terry McMillan is a medical doctor. When he makes rounds at the Roundhouse, no one tends to his patients in Las Cruces.
It's a significant financial hardship. My practice is one that has to be actually completely shuttered when I'm here for sessions.
And when Pipeline Inspector Bob Woolley is reviewing legislation in Santa Fe, his oil field paychecks are on hold.
It's a hardship. We have to dip into our savings in order to pay our bills. My wife's a school teacher, and she's been there quite a while, so she makes decent money, but we have to dip into savings to meet our obligations.
But not all of New Mexico's 112 lawmakers make a financial sacrifice for their public service. Our investigation finds a few members pocketing hefty taxpayer salaries during legislative sessions.
For example, taxpayers pay State Senator Pete Campos a salary of $411 every day he's at the Capitol. Now, the money doesn't come from the legislature. It comes from Luna Community College in Las Vegas. You see, the senator is Luna's president. His employment contract allows the senator to collect his salary even when he's off campus on legislative business. Because Luna is a public university, the money paid to the senator comes from taxpayers.
My duties run 7/24/365. I deal with my issues, whether I'm here, whether I'm in Las Vegas. The intent is to ensure that I'm responsible, taking care of my duties back home, and at the same time taking care of the duties and my responsibilities as a member of the state senate.
Senator Cynthia Nava earned $140,000 a year as the Gadsden School Superintendent. When she took off for weeks at a time to work in the Senate, Nava continued to collect her full school salary. Earlier this year, she resigned from the Gadsden schools. Senator Gay Kernan, Representatives Dennis Roach, Tomas Garcia, and James Smith all work for public schools in their respective districts. However, when these lawmakers are here, their public service is without their school salary. District policies require Kernan, Roach, Garcia, and Smith to take unpaid leave when they work at the Capitol.
At Albuquerque Public Schools, a Teachers Federation contract allows classroom instructors who are elected to the legislature to collect their school salaries even during legislative sessions. That means APS foots the bill for teachers when they legislate in Santa Fe.
So when lawmakers Bernadette Sanchez and Tim Lewis make the annual trek north, their APS paychecks continue as if they were still in the classroom. And then there's State Rep Sheryl Stapleton. As an APS administrator, she supervises vocational programs at the schools. But she's not always here. In fact, she's not here a lot. According to APS policy, when Stapleton takes off for Santa Fe, she cannot collect her APS salary. Political leave for administrators is unpaid.
But that didn't stop Representative Stapleton from cheating the system. Our investigation found Stapleton has been quietly bilking taxpayers out of tens of thousands of dollars for years.
Instead of taking unpaid leave to work in the legislature, Stapleton simply took off and disappeared. No leave, no approvals, not even a goodbye. Since 2005, she did this more than 600 times. Her APS supervisor looked the other way. The school's payroll department could not have known Stapleton was playing hooky while politicking in Santa Fe. Over the last 7 years, her unauthorized leave from APS cost taxpayers $167,000.
Was she allowed by policy to get paid while she served in the legislature?
Not by the way the current employee handbook is written, no.
But in fact, she was paid.
In fact, she was paid.
Did she put in for leave?
To my knowledge, no.
And she wasn't AWOL just during legislative sessions. Stapleton frequently ducked out of APS to take part in legislative meetings and conferences held when lawmakers were not in session. And when she routinely jetted off to Dallas, New Orleans, Nashville, Washington, Boston, even Puerto Rico, she did so at APS expense. Stapleton's interim legislative jaunts cost taxpayers $75,000.
Stapleton not only pocketed her school district salary while working here, she also hit up taxpayers an additional $117,000 to cover her legislative expenses.
How does she explain all this? Well, she doesn't. Stapleton would not respond to phone calls or email for comment. We caught up with her. Where else? At the Capitol.
I believe you have spoken to my supervisors. I do not wish to speak to you.
But you've been lying on your timesheets.
I haven't lied on any timesheet.
APS admits Stapleton has been abusing the system for years. However, she won't face discipline nor be required to make restitution. After our investigation, Superintendent Brooks changed APS policy to be consistent with the teacher's contract. Now, when Sheryl Stapleton takes off for Santa Fe, she does so legitimately at APS expense. I got to ask you, if any employee of APS walked off their job for whatever reason and didn't put in leave for it, that's got to bother you.
Oh, it'd bother me, and I'd probably seek disciplinary action if it were just any employee. These folks are not just walking off the job and disappearing. They're walking off the job. Granted, they may not have followed the rules, which will now be changed, but they walked off the job to go serve in the legislature.
Larry Barker, KRQE News 13.
We'll be right back. Stay with us.